Here's a rundown of the current restrictions that are in place in terms of social distancing and gatherings under the Phase 4 of Nova Scotia's COVID-19 reopening plan. We know there have been some big changes in our neighbouring Atlantic provinces, PEI, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland and Labrador, but there are still some restrictions in place here in Nova Scotia, and we'd like to take a couple of minutes to run through those for you so there's no confusion. So the first thing you need to know is that while there are no longer household bubbles in Nova Scotia, there are still specific gathering limits. You can get together with 25 of your family members or close social contacts indoors, or you can get together with 50 of them outdoors without having to use physical distancing or to wear a mask. Unless, and this is a big unless you are in a public space, indoor or outdoor, that is requiring you to wear a mask. Now, things have changed a little bit in terms of overall mask wearing in Nova Scotia. It's no longer being strictly enforced for small groups or for individual use. However, there are going to be times when a large group gets together where mask wearing is going to be required. So check out any individual spot you happen to go to make sure that you know the rules and that you stay safe and know whether or not to put your mask back on. Changes have also come for the retail sector here in Nova Scotia. All stores are now allowed to open to maximum capacity. However, physical distancing is still in effect and you must wear a mask when you're inside a store. Things are a little different in the restaurant and licensed establishment sector. For starters, restaurants can allow up to 25 people per table. They don't have to wear masks as long as they're not moving around and as they're just eating and having drinks. In the licensed establishment sector of things, customers can now go up to the bar to order a drink, and bars and restaurants are allowed to stay open for their regular hours. As well, music is permitted at bars and restaurants. However, the musicians have to abide by the rules that have been set out in the arts and culture sector of the Phase 4 regulations. I'll tell you about those in just a moment or two. And we are pleased to report that a Nova Scotia tradition is back at bars and restaurants. Dancing is permitted, in small groups, mind you, but you can actually dance again at venues in Nova Scotia. But check the rules for each individual venue to make sure that you're dancing within the legal limit. There are also changes in the recreation and sports sector. For example, a wide variety of recreation and leisure businesses and organizations, such as dance classes, music lessons, escape rooms, and indoor play spaces, can operate at maximum capacity as long as public health measures are in place, including distancing and masks. As well, fitness and recreation facilities such as gyms, yoga studios, pools, and arenas can operate at maximum capacity. They too have to have public health measures in place, including masks and distancing. Organized sports practices, games, league play, competition, and recreation programs can involve up to 25 people indoors and 50 people outdoors without physical distancing. Tournaments are allowed when they are run by or affiliated with a provincial sport organization following their return to sport plan. As well, people can come and watch these games and practices, but they have to follow the gathering limits for events hosted by a recognized business or organization. Day camps can operate with 30 campers per group, plus staff and volunteers following the day camp guidelines. Masks are no longer required for children aged 12 and under in childcare settings. These include day camps and overnight camps. And masks are no longer required at outdoor public places where it may be difficult to maintain physical distance, such as markets, playgrounds, and parks. Now, a couple of minutes ago, I told you that I would give you the regulations for arts and culture performances in Nova Scotia, and here they are. Performances or rehearsals involving a maximum of 25 people indoors or 50 people outdoors can take place without masks or social distancing. And audiences are allowed into these performances. However, they have to follow the mask and social distancing guidelines set out by the organization or business running the event. In addition, museums, libraries, and the Nova Scotia Art Gallery are allowed to be open to maximum capacity. However, physical distancing and mask wearing will be enforced at these venues. So what about churches and houses of worship? Well, faith gatherings have been taking place in Nova Scotia since early July, and weddings and funerals are now permitted, as well as wedding receptions and funeral visitation if they're run by a recognized business or organization. In each case, 50% capacity rules must be maintained to a maximum of 150 people indoors and 250 people outdoors. They're required to be masked. However, in terms of anybody who's an officiant at any of these services and anybody providing music to these services, masks are optional as long as the nearest person participating is 6 feet away. And finally, here are the current COVID-19 restrictions for continuing care facilities. All long-term care residents can leave the facility to visit indoor and outdoor public places like parks, stores, and restaurants. Fully vaccinated residents can have visitors in their rooms and visit their family's home, including overnight stays. And residents who are not fully vaccinated can still have visitors in designated indoor visitation areas. So by now, after hearing me go through all these regulations, you're probably saying to yourself, that's all well and good for Phase 4, but when do we get to see Phase 5? When do we get to have that period promised to us by Nova Scotia Public Health as part of the reopening plan, where masks aren't required, businesses and events are open to full capacity, and we all simply learn to live with COVID-19? Well, not so fast. Remember the words of Nova Scotia's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Robert Strang. Every phase in the reopening period for Nova Scotia lasts a minimum of 2 weeks and a maximum of 4 weeks. And Phase 5 can only come about in Nova Scotia once the province's population has a 75% vaccination rate for both doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. As of Monday, August the 2nd, Nova Scotia had 70% of eligible population vaccinated with both doses. So we've got a little ways to go yet. But in the meantime, remember these regulations for Phase 4 and enjoy the rest of the summer safely here in Nova Scotia. And be respectful of others' personal space as we go through the next phase of this pandemic.